Marcus Stone opened his eyes to a canopy of crimson leaves swaying in an alien breeze. The metallic taste of blood filled his mouth as consciousness slowly returned, bringing with it a cascade of memories. The deep space exploration mission, the unexpected attack on their ship, the blinding flash of a teleportation beam. He sat up slowly, his muscular frame aching from whatever ordeal had brought him to this strange world. The forest around him pulsed with otherworldly beauty. Trees with bark like polished obsidian stretched toward a sky painted in shades of purple and gold. 2 moons hung visible in the daylight, casting ethereal shadows that danced across the forest floor. The air hummed with energy, carrying scents both exotic and intoxicating. Marcus assessed his situation with the methodical precision that had kept him alive during countless wilderness expeditions on Earth. His clothes were torn but intact, his body bruised but functional. More concerning was the complete absence of any technology or weapons. Not even his basic survival knife remained. A soft chime echoed through the forest, followed by a voice speaking in accented but perfect English. "Welcome to Crimson Moon, the finest hunting preserve in the Zarian system. You have been selected as a participant in the trials of worth. Survive 7 days and earn your freedom. Fail and become another trophy in our halls." The disembodied voice faded, leaving Marcus alone with the unsettling realization that he was someone's prey. He had been a wilderness guide for over a decade before joining the space exploration program, leading tourists and researchers through Earth's most dangerous environments. But this was different. This was a game where the rules favored his hunters, and the stakes were his very life. Marcus stood, testing his balance and flexibility. Whatever had been used to transport him here hadn't caused permanent damage. He began moving through the forest with careful, deliberate steps, his senses hyper-alert for any sign of danger or opportunity. The ground beneath his feet was soft with layers of fallen leaves, making silent movement possible if he was careful. Hours passed as he explored his new environment, cataloging potential food sources, water locations, and shelter options. The ecosystem was remarkably Earth-like in some ways, yet alien in others. Fruits that glowed with bioluminescence hung from twisted branches, while flowers the size of dinner plates tracked his movement like living satellites. As evening approached, painting the sky in deeper shades of amber and violet, Marcus found a defensible position near a natural spring. The water tasted clean and cool, a blessing he didn't take for granted. He was gathering materials for a basic shelter when he first sensed he was being watched. The feeling was subtle at first, like a whisper at the edge of consciousness. Marcus had learned to trust such instincts during his years in the wilderness. Predators, whether animal or human, created a particular kind of tension in the air, a disturbance in the natural rhythm of the environment. He continued his work, seemingly oblivious, while every sense remained focused on identifying the threat. There, a slight rustle in the canopy that didn't match the wind pattern. A shadow that moved independently of the swaying branches. Someone was up there, and they were good at concealment. Marcus made a decision that went against every survival instinct. Instead of hiding or fleeing, he looked up directly at where he sensed his watcher. "I know you're there," he called out calmly, his voice carrying clearly in the still air. "If you're going to hunt me, at least have the courtesy to introduce yourself." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, with a grace that seemed to defy gravity, a figure descended from the trees. Marcus felt his breath catch as she landed silently just 20 feet away. She was unlike anything he had ever seen, yet undeniably beautiful in a way that transcended species. Her skin was like polished silver, catching and reflecting the dying light with an almost metallic sheen. Long flowing hair, the color of starlight, cascaded over her shoulders, contrasting with eyes that glowed with an inner violet fire. Her form was humanoid, but enhanced, taller and more athletic than any human woman. with elegant proportions that spoke of both strength and grace. Her clothing was practical yet exotic, consisting of form-fitting material that seemed to shift color with her movements, adapting to the environment like active camouflage. A curved blade hung at her hip, and Marcus could see other weapons integrated into her outfit with seamless efficiency. "Impressive," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that made even that simple word sound like poetry. "Most participants never detect my presence during observation periods. I am Zara Night Wind, senior huntress of the Valthera clan." Marcus studied her with equal curiosity, noting the predatory grace in her posture and the intelligence in those remarkable eyes. "Marcus Stone," he replied, maintaining his calm demeanor despite the racing of his heart. "I'm guessing you're not here to welcome me to the neighborhood." Zara's laugh was like silver bells in a gentle breeze. "Your species has such interesting ways of expressing themselves." "No, Marcus Stone. I am here to hunt you. Though I must admit, you are far more intriguing than the usual specimens we receive." "Specimens?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That's a charming way to describe people." "People?" Zara tilted her head, genuine curiosity replacing her predatory focus. "You consider yourself equal to those who hunt among the stars, who command vessels that cross between worlds." The question revealed more than she might have intended. These beings clearly saw themselves as superior to humans, viewing the hunt as sport between different classes of beings rather than different species. Marcus realized that his response here could determine not just the nature of this encounter, but possibly his chances of survival. "I consider myself equal to anyone who breathes, thinks, and feels," he said quietly, meeting her glowing gaze directly. "The fact that you're beautiful, exotic, and probably capable of killing me with your bare hands doesn't make you more valuable as a person than I am." Zara's eyes widened slightly, and something shifted in her expression. "You called me beautiful, among other things," Marcus replied with a slight smile. "Though I'm hoping that capable of killing me part doesn't become relevant anytime soon." For the first time since her arrival, Zara's predatory stance relaxed slightly. She moved closer, circling him with fluid grace, while her violet eyes studied his face as if seeing him clearly for the first time. "In all my years as a huntress," she said slowly, "no prey has ever complimented my appearance before pleading for their life." "I'm not pleading," Marcus pointed out, "and I suspect that calling me prey is becoming less accurate by the minute." Zara stopped directly in front of him, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her silver skin. "What makes you think that?" "Because you're curious about me now," Marcus said, his voice soft but confident. "You came down from your perfect vantage point, not to attack, but to understand. That's not the behavior of a hunter stalking prey. That's the behavior of someone who's just encountered something unexpected and wants to learn more." The silence stretched between them, charged with possibilities that neither had anticipated when this encounter began. Zara's hand rested unconsciously on her weapon, but her grip was relaxed rather than ready. The dying light of the alien sunset painted them both in shades of gold and crimson. "7 days," she said finally, her voice carrying a note he couldn't identify. "The trials last 7 days. If you survive, you earn your freedom. And if I don't?" Zara's smile was enigmatic, revealing nothing while promising everything. "Then you become mine, Marcus Stone, in whatever capacity I deem fitting." She stepped back, and the predatory hunter returned to her posture and expression. "Your first night begins now. I suggest you prepare well. Tomorrow, the real hunt begins." With that, she melted back into the shadows with the same impossible grace she had shown in her arrival. Marcus stood alone by the spring, his heart pounding and his mind racing. Something had changed in those few minutes of conversation. The dynamic between hunter and hunted had shifted into something far more complex and infinitely more dangerous. As he resumed building his shelter under the light of 2 alien moons, Marcus found himself smiling despite his precarious situation. 7 days to win his freedom, but something told him the real prize might be something entirely different. Something with silver skin, violet eyes, and a laugh like music. The hunt had begun, but Marcus suspected he might not be the only one being pursued. The second dawn on Crimson Moon painted the sky in shades of rose and amber as Marcus emerged from his improvised shelter. He had spent the night listening to the alien sounds of the forest, every sense alert for Zara's approach. She hadn't returned, but he could feel her presence like electricity in the air, watching, waiting, evaluating. Marcus had used the darkness to improve his position, weaving branches and vines into a more substantial shelter, while setting up subtle early warning systems around his camp. Bent twigs that would snap under weight, carefully balanced stones that would tumble at the slightest disturbance. Simple tricks, but effective against even skilled hunters who weren't familiar with human ingenuity. Was testing the sharpened point of a makeshift spear when movement in the tree line caught his attention. This time it wasn't Zara's graceful approach, but something altogether different. 2 figures emerged from the forest, moving with practiced coordination. The first was clearly of Zara's species, but where she was elegant silver, he was deep obsidian black. Taller and broader than Zara, with the same otherworldly beauty, but possessed of a masculine power that spoke of violence barely contained. Ritual scars decorated his arms and chest in intricate patterns, and his eyes glowed with the same inner light as Zara's, though his were a fierce golden amber. Beside him walked another female, smaller than Zara, but sharing similar features. Her skin was pale blue like winter ice, and her hair fell in waves of deep purple. Where Zara moved with predatory grace, this one carried herself with youthful enthusiasm barely contained by formal training. "So this is the human that has captured my sister's attention," the male spoke, his voice a rumbling bass that seemed to make the very ground vibrate. "I am Kelvin Shadowbane, and I must say, I am underwhelmed." The female beside him giggled, a sound like crystal chimes. "Oh, Kelvin, be nice. I'm Naya Starweaver." She addressed Marcus directly, her voice lighter than her companion's, but carrying its own musical quality. "Zara's sister. She's told us so much about you." Marcus set down his spear, keeping his hands visible but ready. "All good things, I hope." Kelvin's laugh was harsh. "Good? You managed to avoid capture for one night, and suddenly you think yourself worthy of a Velthara huntress?" "You amuse yourself, human." "Marcus," he corrected calmly. "And I don't recall claiming to be worthy of anything. I'm just trying to survive." Naya moved closer, circling him with the same predatory curiosity her sister had shown, though with more obvious fascination and less restraint. "Your species is so different from ours. Your skin is so warm-looking. And these muscles," she reached out as if to touch his arm. But Kelvin's sharp command stopped her. "Naya, remember your place." The younger female's expression shifted, disappointment clouding her features. "Of course, cousin. Forgive my curiosity." Marcus filed away the family dynamics for later consideration. "Cousin? So you're all related?" "The finest hunting clans intermarry to preserve bloodlines," Kelvin explained with obvious pride. "Zara and I were betrothed in childhood. Her recent fascination with you is merely a temporary aberration before she accepts her proper mate." The pieces began falling into place in Marcus's mind. This wasn't just about survival, or even proving himself worthy. This was about politics, tradition, and a woman caught between duty and something else entirely. "Does Zara know you're here?" Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "My sister makes her own choices," Naya said quickly, earning a sharp look from Kelvin. "But the clan elders are concerned about the direction of those choices." Before Kelvin could respond, another voice cut through the morning, air like silk over steel. Then perhaps the clan elder should speak to me directly rather than sending children to intimidate my participant. Zara emerged from the forest with her characteristic impossible grace, but Marcus immediately sensed the tension radiating from her. Her violet eyes held a warning as they fixed on Kelvin, while her hand rested casually on her weapon. Zara? Kelvin's voice softened, taking on what Marcus assumed was meant to be charm. We came only to understand this fascination of yours. Surely you cannot be serious about this primitive creature. Marcus felt a flare of irritation at being discussed like he wasn't present, but he remained silent, sensing that this conversation was about far more than his immediate survival. Primitive? Zara's laugh held no warmth. This primitive creature has displayed more ingenuity in 2 days than your last 3 hunt participants showed in their entire trials. He built shelter, created weapons, established defensive positions, and detected my surveillance. What exactly about that strikes you as primitive? Naya bounced slightly on her toes, her excitement barely contained. Oh, show us. Show us what you made. Marcus glanced at Zara, who gave him the slightest nod. He gestured toward his shelter, explaining the basic principles behind its construction, while demonstrating some of his early warning systems. Naya was fascinated, asking intelligent questions about his techniques and materials. Even Kelvin, despite his obvious disapproval, seemed grudgingly impressed by the craftsmanship. Clever, Kelvin admitted reluctantly. For a species without natural hunting instincts, you show surprising adaptability. Actually, Marcus said, warming to the subject, humans are natural hunters. We evolved as persistence predators, running our prey to exhaustion across vast distances. We may not have your physical advantages, but we have something else, the ability to adapt any environment to our needs. Fascinating, Naya breathed. Tell me more about human hunting techniques. For the next hour, Marcus found himself engaged in an impromptu cultural exchange, describing human survival methods while learning about Veilthara hunting traditions. Naya was an enthusiastic student, while Kelvin participated with the grudging respect of one warrior recognizing another's. Skills. Zara remained largely silent during the exchange, but Marcus was acutely aware of her presence. Every so often, their eyes would meet, and he would see something in her expression that made his pulse quicken. Pride, perhaps, or satisfaction. Something that suggested his performance was exceeding her expectations. Informal lesson was interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. 3 more Veilthara emerged from the forest, these older and more formally dressed. Their skin tones ranged from deep purple to pale gold, and the ceremonial markings they bore spoke of high rank within their society. Huntress Zara, the eldest spoke, her voice carrying absolute authority. You will explain why the trial grounds have been contaminated with unauthorized presence. Marcus felt the temperature of the conversation drop several degrees. Zara straightened, her casual demeanor transforming into formal respect. Elder Thesa, she acknowledged. I was not aware that observing the trials had become unauthorized. Do not play word games with me, child, Elder Thesa replied coldly. The human has been given assistance. The trials demand solitary survival. I have given no assistance, Zara stated firmly. I have observed, as is my right as primary evaluator. Kelvin stepped forward. Elder, perhaps it would be better to end this charade now. The human has proven adequate for a primitive, but surely we need not waste more time on this folly. Marcus sensed the political undercurrents flowing around him like dangerous rapids. These people were deciding his fate based on considerations that went far beyond his survival skills or worthiness as a person. With respect, he interjected, drawing surprised looks from the assembled Veilthara. Shouldn't I have some say in this discussion? I am the one being evaluated, after all. Elder Thesa's ancient eyes fixed on him with laser intensity. You dare speak unbidden in the presence of clan elders? On Earth, we have a saying, Marcus replied calmly. Nothing about us without us. It means that decisions affecting people should include those people in the us conversation. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus could feel Zara's tension radiating beside him, while Kelvin's expression promised violence if the elders gave the word. Then Elder Thesa did something unexpected. She laughed. Bold, she said, circling Marcus with the same predatory assessment he had received from both Zara and Naya. Foolish, but bold. Tell me, human, what do you believe you are being evaluated for? Marcus considered his answer carefully. Initially, I thought it was simple survival, but I'm beginning to suspect it's something more complex. A test not just of my ability to stay alive, but of my worthiness to be part of your society. And what makes you think you could ever be worthy of such consideration? The question hung in the air like a blade. Marcus was aware that his answer might determine not just his own fate, but potentially Zara's as well. He looked at her, seeing encouragement mixed with concern in her violet eyes. Because worthiness isn't about species or bloodlines, he said quietly. It's about character, courage, and the ability to contribute something valuable to the people around you. I may be human, but I can learn, I can adapt, and I can respect the culture and people I'm trying to join. Elder Thesa studied him for a long moment. Pretty words. But the trials are not about words, human. They are about survival, skill, and proving oneself worthy of our finest huntresses. She turned to Zara. You have 4 days remaining to complete your evaluation. Be certain that your final report reflects the true measure of this candidate, not the clouded judgment of personal fascination. With that warning, the elders departed as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving the 4 younger Valthara alone with Marcus. Well, Naya said brightly, that could have gone worse. Kelvin's expression remained dark. This is not over, human. 4 days to prove yourself worthy of a bondmate who deserves far better than what you can offer. As the others departed, Zara lingered. When they were finally alone, she moved close enough that Marcus could smell the exotic scent of her skin, like night-blooming flowers in starlight. You handled that well, she said softly. But Kelvin is right about one thing. The real trials are just beginning, and they will test far more than your survival skills. What exactly are these trials really about, Zara? Her violet eyes met his, and for a moment her formal mask slipped entirely. They're about finding someone worthy of sharing a life among the stars. Marcus Stone. Someone worthy of love. The weight of that revelation settled between them like a bridge neither had expected to build. The hunt was indeed about far more than survival. It was about the possibility of something neither of them had anticipated when this strange game began. 4 days remained. 4 days to prove that love could transcend the boundaries between worlds. The third night arrived with unusual atmospheric disturbances that painted the sky in writhing curtains of green and gold. Marcus sat by his small fire, sharpening a hunting blade he had crafted from salvaged metal, when Zara appeared like a silver ghost at the edge of the firelight. The aurora storm comes, she said, settling beside him with fluid grace. It's considered an omen among my people, good or bad? Marcus asked, noting how the dancing lights above reflected in her violet eyes. That depends entirely on what happens next. She turned to face him fully. Marcus, there's something I haven't told you about the trials. Something that changes everything. The serious tone in her voice made him set aside his work. I'm listening. Zara was quiet for a long moment, studying the patterns the fire cast across his face. The trials aren't just about proving worthiness as a mate. They're about testing the depth of connection between potential partners. Tomorrow night, if you're willing, we undergo the bonding ritual, which involves a joining of minds and hearts, she explained softly, an ancient ceremony that reveals the true nature of what exists between two souls. If the connection is genuine, we'll be bound by something deeper than law or tradition. If it's merely attraction, double quotes, she trailed off. Then what? Then you complete the trials alone, and I honor my betrothal to Kelvin. Marcus felt his heart skip. Over the past 3 days, his feelings for this extraordinary woman had grown from attraction to something far more profound. The thought of losing her to political arrangements made his chest tighten with unexpected pain. And if I refuse the ritual? Zara's expression grew vulnerable. Then I'll know that what I feel isn't reciprocated, and I can fulfill my duty to my clan with a clear conscience. The weight of the decision settled over them both. Marcus reached out, gently taking her hand in his. Her skin was warm and silk-soft, with a subtle luminescence that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. What does your heart tell you, Zara? She leaned closer, her free hand coming up to touch his face with feather-light fingers. It tells me that I've never felt this way about anyone. That when I watch you move through the forest, adapting and surviving with nothing but your intelligence and will, something in my chest soars. That when you speak of your world and your people, I want to learn everything about both. Marcus turned his face into her palm, pressing a gentle kiss there. Then we do the ritual. The aurora storm intensified overhead as if responding to their decision, casting them both in otherworldly light. Zara's eyes brightened with joy, and something else anticipation mixed with nervousness. There's more, she admitted. The ritual must be witnessed, and there's someone I want you to meet first. Before Marcus could ask what she meant, footsteps approached their camp. From the shadows emerged a figure that made Marcus do a double-take. It was clearly human, the first he had seen since arriving on this world. The man was perhaps 40, with graying hair and the lean build of someone who had survived harsh conditions for an extended time. His clothes were a mixture of human and alien materials, and his eyes held the particular wariness of someone who had learned to navigate between worlds. Jackson Rivers, the newcomer, introduced himself, extending a hand in the familiar Earth gesture. Former deep space engineer, current resident of Zarian Prime. Marcus clasped the offered hand. Marcus Stone, I take it you went through these trials yourself? Jackson's laugh was rueful. 3 years ago. Though my experience was different from yours. Different how? I failed, Jackson said simply. Spectacularly. Couldn't adapt to the hunting methods. Couldn't understand the cultural significance of what was happening. Nearly died of poisoning from eating the wrong berries. Zara spoke up. Jackson chose to remain on Zarian Prime after his trials ended. He's become something of an expert on human-Valthara relations. And I'm here to tell you, Jackson continued, settling cross-legged by their fire, that what you're about to attempt is unprecedented. The bonding ritual has never been performed between species. Before, Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. What are the risks? Mental feedback, psychological trauma, complete rejection by both parties, Jackson listed grimly. Or, if the stories are true, a connection so profound that it transcends every boundary between your peoples. Zara's hand tightened in Marcus's. The choice is yours. I won't ask you to risk your sanity for something that might be impossible. Marcus studied both their faces in the firelight. Jackson's expression was carefully neutral, but he could see concern in the older man's eyes. Zara tried to appear calm, but her tension was palpable. Tell me about the ritual itself, Marcus said finally. Zara exchanged a look with Jackson, who nodded encouragingly. It takes place in the Chamber of Souls, deep within the sacred mountain. We drink from the cup of truth, which contains compounds that lower mental barriers and enhance emotional receptivity. Then we enter a shared meditative state where our consciousness can touch. Aliens who built this place were remarkably advanced, Jackson added. Their technology could facilitate mental connections that seem like magic to us. But it requires absolute trust and genuine feeling to work. And if it works, then you'll know each other in ways that go deeper than words or physical attraction, Zara whispered. Every fear, every hope, every dream. There will be no secrets between us, no walls. We'll be bound by understanding so complete that distance and time become meaningless. Marcus felt the magnitude of what she was offering. In human terms, it was like proposing marriage, moving in together and sharing every secret all at once. It should have terrified him. Instead, he found himself more certain than he had ever been of anything. When do we begin? Dawn brought Elder Thissa and a procession of clan members to escort them to the sacred mountain. The ancient structure rose from the jungle like a sleeping giant, its surfaces covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and flow in the changing light. The Chamber of Souls lay deep within the mountain's heart, accessed through passages that glowed with bioluminescent moss. The chamber itself took Marcus's breath away, a circular room with walls of crystal that reflected and amplified the aurora storm still raging outside. In the center stood a pedestal holding an ornate chalice that hummed with barely contained energy. Last chance to reconsider, Elder Thissa said, her ancient eyes fixed on Marcus. Once the ritual begins, there is no retreat. Marcus looked at Zara, radiant in her ceremonial robes of flowing silver. Her violet eyes held a mixture of love and terror that matched his own feelings perfectly. "I'm ready," he said. The assembled witnesses formed, circle around them as Elder Thissa began chanting in the ancient Valthara tongue. The crystal walls responded, their glow intensifying until the entire chamber pulsed with rhythm like a great heartbeat. Zara lifted the chalice with reverent hands. "To truth," she whispered, taking a sip before offering it to Marcus. "To truth," he echoed, drinking deeply. The effect was immediate. The world around him shimmered, colors becoming more vivid while sounds took on new harmonies. But more than that, he could feel Zara's presence in his mind like a warm flame, tentative and wondering. They sat facing each other in the chamber's center, their hands intertwined as consciousness began to merge. Marcus felt himself falling into depths he hadn't known existed, guided by Zara's mental touch. Suddenly, he was experiencing her memories as if they were his own. The loneliness of being the most skilled huntress in her generation, the pressure to conform to others' expectations, the moment she first saw him in the forest and felt something shift in her heart. He felt her wonder at human ingenuity, her growing respect for his adaptability, her fear that their connection was impossible. In return, he shared his own truth. The isolation of being Earth's best wilderness guide, always alone in the places others feared to go. The excitement of space exploration, the terror of finding himself on an alien world, and then the growing certainty that meeting her had changed everything about what he wanted from life. Their minds touched deeper levels, sharing not just thoughts, but the essential essence of who they were. Marcus experienced what it was like to move with predatory grace, to see with enhanced senses, to feel the call of the hunt in his blood. Zara felt the peculiar human drive to adapt and overcome, the stubborn refusal to accept defeat, the deep loyalty that bound him to those he cared about. Time became meaningless as they explored each other's souls. Every fear, every hope, every dream shared and accepted. Marcus felt Zara's terror that love might not be enough to bridge their differences, and he answered with his own certainty that it already had. She shared her vision of a future where their union became a bridge between worlds, and he showed her his willingness to build that bridge with her. One day at a time, at the deepest level of connection, they found the truth they had both been seeking. This wasn't mere attraction or the excitement of the exotic. It was recognition two souls that complemented each other perfectly despite their different origins. Where she was grace, he was strength. Where he was adaptability, she was wisdom. Together, they were something greater than either could be alone. The ritual reached its crescendo as the aurora storm peaked overhead, sending cascades of light through the crystal chamber. For one perfect moment, Marcus and Zara existed as a single consciousness, their love and commitment burning like a star in the darkness of space. Then, gradually, they returned to themselves, still connected but separate again. Marcus opened his eyes to find Zara watching him with wonder, tears of joy streaming down her silver cheeks. "My heart," she whispered, the words carrying weight in her language that went beyond simple endearment. "My chosen one, my mate." The crystal chamber sang with harmonious resonance as their bond settled into place, a connection that would endure across any distance or time. Around them, the assembled witnesses stirred with amazement. Even Elder Thesa looked moved by what she had witnessed. "It is done," the elder pronounced. "The bond is true and deep. May it bring strength to both your peoples." As they emerged from the sacred mountain into the dawn of a new day, Marcus felt fundamentally changed. The trials were not yet complete, but in every way that mattered, his future was certain. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he and Zara would face them together. Jackson waited outside, his expression mixing joy with concern. "Congratulations," he said warmly. "But you should know Kelvin and his supporters are not going to accept this quietly." Marcus looked at Zara, seeing his own determination reflected in her eyes. Their bond was strong enough to overcome any obstacle, but it would be tested sooner than either of them had hoped. The real trials were just beginning.